And I'm going to call this meeting to order on March 19th, 2024. We are in the BCISD administration building in the boardroom. We do have a board present with 5 trustees present. If y'all please stand for the invocation and the pledge. This evening, our pastor that is going to be doing our invocation is Caleb Gibson from High Five Church. He has been the pastor there for 7 years and will be offering our invocation this evening. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord, and I just want to take a moment just to pray and bow our heads. Lord, thank you for this day. We thank you for your faithfulness, and we thank you for who you are. We pray over Basin that you just continue to bless this town, bless these school systems, bless the teachers, the parents, and Lord, thank you, Lord, for your faithfulness. Lord, I thank you for your protection. Continue to guide us, and Lord, just give us a hearing heart. Lord, we pray that you just continue to bless Basin High School and bless the ISD, Lord. And we thank you for this day. In the name of Jesus, we pray.
Amen. We got plenty of Roberts this evening leading us in our pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty for all. Honor and respect to the flag. One state under God, one nation.
Thank y'all so much. Thank you. Okay, moving on down our agenda to good news. Does anyone have any good news to share that they've seen in the past month across the school district? Yes. Powerlifting to state.
Excited to watch our girls soccer again. As they're playoff bound by the Anderson. And then I got to watch the junior high swim meet, training on it. And that was fun to watch junior high diving. You wouldn't think it was, but they're excited to do it. And that program is growing. And if we just had more kids, I think it's gonna really develop.
Is the boys soccer team going to play? That's what I thought. I think boys is going to
playoffs
playoffs
as well.
So our soccer program, as always, is top notch and amazing.
I need more Facebook friends that are on boys soccer team. I see the girl, but I don't want to leave them out.
Yes. Anybody have anything else? I think everyone had a wonderful spring break. Great to have everybody back. All right, moving along to our celebration of excellence. We are honoring several schools this evening, and we will start this evening by honoring our Cherry Elementary students. So, Ms. Howard, I think we're gonna do our pre-K students first, and then move into kinder from that point.
Hi, we have got a lot of parents here tonight, so we're first going to honor our pre-K students who have made the most growth from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year on their state assessment, which is CLI. So I'm going to give them just a minute to get situated. Okay, just wait right there. Okay, so first we have okay, so we have Miss Gegler here to give out her certificates, and for Miss Gegler, we have Makai Brown, who has a top reading. Sosa, top math growth. Marcus Kitchell, who has top reading growth in pre-K. Okay, for this gnosis class, we have Belinda Chavez, top math growth in pre-K.
Entonces tenemos a Belinda Chávez con el promedio alto de matemáticas.
Nacho Aguayo for top math growth.
Aranza Camayo Aguayo no se encuentra aquí, pero ella está también con promedio de matemáticas más alto.
And Carlos Monroy for top math growth.
Carlos Monroy con matemáticas promedio más alto.
We also have Nathan Serrano Mendoza, top math and reading growth.
Nathan Serrano tiene
Rita Torres, top reading growth. We have Paola Cynthia Ramirez, top reading.
matemáticas y crecimiento prekinder.
I feel like I need to take that one. Miss Stephanie Garcia's class, we have Noah Garcia, top math growth. Okay, and for Miss Trudella, we have Maribella, top reading growth. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our top growth in pre-K for beginning year to middle year. They have worked really hard. Let's give them a big round of applause.
Take two big steps this way.
Toma dos pasos para enfrente.
Okay. Find a way to see. Okay, right here. Oh, thank you so much for holding that. Very good. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. Right here. Right here. Okay, one more time. 1, 2. Keep your sound. 1, 2, 3. Great. Congratulations.
Okay, pre-K parents, you want to take your kids into the foyer. If you have a parent, you can also use days whenever our kindergartens can begin.
Si quieren estudiantes de prekinder y quieren salir a pasear con ellos, ahorita los de kinder pueden llegar.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you all for being patient. I know it's a lot of moving parts, but we love this part of our meeting and think it's special.
Okay, y'all ready? Okay, thank you for your patience as we get a reset. Now we have our kinder students who have top growth in their reading and math and class scores from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year. They have also worked incredibly hard. We have a lot of our teachers who did come tonight to give their certificates to their students, and I appreciate them so much. On behalf of Ms. Hildebrand tonight, we have Ms. Langer handing out certificates, and I have Ms. Isabella Eccles, top reading growth in kindergarten. Isabella. I have Alexandra Chino, top reading growth in kindergarten. And I have Jeremiah Cortez from his Hildebrand class, the top reading growth in kindergarten. Okay, from Ms. Terry Davis's class, I have Aubrey Caesar, top reading growth. And from Ms. Eckhoff's class, I have Samuel Aguilar, top reading growth. Graduation right there. For math, Miss Rubio. Miss Rubio, I have Hugo Marquez Flores, top math growth. I also have Eileen Lopez for top math growth.
También Aileen es el promedio de la más alta.
For Miss Langer, top math growth, we have Trayvon Turner. For Miss Hassett, top math growth, we have Camila Avila. And from Miss Stone's class, top math growth, we have Andrea Garcia. Ladies and gentlemen, these are our top students in kindergarten. They have grown the most from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year. We are so proud of them and their teachers. So please give them another round of applause. Teachers right here. Okay, step up right here. Nice try. Okay, look right here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, look for your mom and dad. Oh, no. Oh, so not here. All right, thank you all so much. All right, you can take teachers students out here, and we're gonna let Lynn Roberts come in. Thank you all so much for coming.
Padre de Quinte, gracias por acompañarnos. Pueden ir al pasillo para que comience la escuela de individual.
Thanks, Matt. Congratulations. Bailey. Thank you. Good evening, board members. Good evening to all of our family and our friends that are here to celebrate our students. I want to thank our staff for being here to celebrate our kids. I know not all of our teachers could make it, but at this time I am going to ask teachers that had top 5 in their grade level. Ms. Garcia, Ms. Hyde, will be first grade as well first, and we'll do second. So I'll see you up here. There's a lot to celebrate. So starting off tonight, we're going to do first grade top rows from the beginning of the year to the middle of the year. And we're going to begin with math. And so first we have Santiago de Leon, but out of all of our 20 awards, he's the only student that couldn't make it, but I still want to celebrate him. Next we have Troy Valdez. So Troy's getting 2 awards. Troy's getting 1 for math and 1 for reading growth from the beginning to the middle. So Troy. Year B for math growth. For math growth. Awards, he's getting 1 for math and 1 for reading. Reading growth from beginning to middle, we have Ms. Emily Posadas. Moya. We have Miss Brooke Lanier. We're going to do a first grade picture and then we'll do second grade if that's okay. So let's give her another round of applause for first grade.
Okay, right here. 1, okay, 1, 2, 3.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
All right, so our first grade students, you're more than welcome to go ahead and lead, and we'll do second grade real quick. Congratulations. All right, starting off in second grade, if my teachers are here, Ms. Flores, Ms. Bosch, Ms. Mitchell, Ms. Melendez, and Ms. Rodriguez, if you would please come up. She's right now, she's right behind. Oh, she's trying to hide. All right, so celebrating our math growth from beginning to middle. First, we have Catherine Sagara Bajadas. Ashley Rico. Van Leo has 2, 1 for reading and 1 for math. Miss Royal Levi. Next to math is Seeley Slingba. Amy Zamora has 2, 1 for reading and 1 for math. On to our reading growth, we have Jimena Rubio. Tess. If everyone have their network, take a big step that way.
Okay, right here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, hold it for mom and dad. I mean, don't hold it. Wow.
All right.
Families, thank you so much for being here. Okay, we're gonna move on to our last celebration of excellence, which I'm gonna get to present this evening. Thank you. It's a group of students from the high school that were nominated by their teachers at the high school and to participate in something that Dr. Mack highly encouraged, and as a board, we supported some of our students to get to go to Galveston to learn about student governments. And so these 5 students are kind of our first set of students to go, and the plans for this group are rather large, and we'll talk more about exactly what the group is and what that looks like during the reports for the board. But we wanted to honor these students this evening just for what they're doing. They are a wonderful showcase for what Bay City ISD is. They are great leaders on their campus, and more than anything, their peers and obviously their teachers and the staff look up to them. So thank you for that. But I will get to present Cameron Townsend as our first student. Victoria Sleva. Spencer. Melanie Vargas was also a student that we were not able to have with us tonight. But we also had a staff member that joined us, Mrs. Herrera. So she'll come up, please, to enjoy and come and sit. And she was there the whole day.
So let's take a step forward and we'll have the board stagger. Guys, I have a little. Okay, right here, 1, 2, 3.
Thank y'all so much. Does anyone have anything they want to say, just a snippet real quick about the time at the student government camp? I know it's putting you on the spot, but.
I would definitely say we've gained a lot of knowledge from the event that we were able to attend, not only from the students, but from the other teachers and the staff members from the school districts that they were presenting from. And it was definitely valuable knowledge that we can take and put into implement to our own school district.
Well, I would definitely agree with Cameron. It was a wonderful experience, and I personally like getting to talk to students that are my age from the same position that I was at, getting to go and represent their school and getting to talk with them about things that we can bring to our district was wonderful.
On into the reports, we did put that above our LSG this evening, just so we could kind of wrap it together. That whole day that they went is really a springboard for what is to come with our students and being able to involve them in decision making and allowing them to have a bigger voice within our school district. So they brought back great ideas of things that they learned from that day, and we're super excited to see what's happening and where this is going. We had all but one senior, so the rest were juniors, And I think going forward, we'll probably see what that looks like and try to incorporate more and more students every year. We met a superintendent that's at Channelview, that he had 20 students there. And last year he took, I think it was 5 or 6, and realized how impactful it was for their school district. So decided to bring 20 this year. So I don't know if we'll get to 20 next year, but I do know that the program is going to grow, and they're going to have a huge voice of what being able to get with us and get with Dr. Mack of things that they're hearing on campus. So we're excited to see that. You have anything to add?
Sure, just seeing the title of it, they went to this conference, it's a governance camp. And of course, we'll be transitioning here in a little bit to talk about LSG, which stands for Lone Star Governance. And part of Lone Star Governance is to have two-way communication, not only with district leadership, with school board members, but also student voices are important. So this is a new tradition that we're starting. Again, the majority of these students were juniors, and thank you for the staff at the high school for taking the time to nominate these students. I know it's a very busy time for them to have to stand this up, but we didn't want to wait another year. So we're majority juniors, and so we look forward to creating new traditions such as an induction program. I've already talked to them about presenting with us on LSG. They were a little nervous about that, but I know they're going to do a fantastic job. And they were very excited about sharing ideas and visiting there. They were all very comfortable. And so we look forward to expanding the group. And we've already had some great conversations on some great ideas for next year. So we look forward to sharing that with everyone. And I think they'll make great ambassadors for the district. I really do.
I agree. All right, moving on to our next item of business. We do not have any audience with patrons this evening, so going straight into LSG. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Good. Welcome.
It's good to be here.
Good to have you.
And so, to begin with, we'll look at the contractor from the previous meeting. And so, if you've got the blue folder there, right, the very first document is a copy of what I'm going to go over. You spent 92 minutes reviewing, discussing the student outcome goals and monitoring report. That was excellent. You had 6 minutes that was spent like two-way communication. So that was a total of 98 minutes devoted to student outcomes. And the rest of the meeting was just 28 minutes. So it was a 126-minute meeting. That was 77.78% of the meeting was spent on student outcomes. That's outstanding. And, you know, anything you focus more effort on, more time on, it gets done. And so we appreciate that very much. You had 6 board members present, only 1 absent, so that's 85.71% attendance. You had 10 items on the consent agenda. You guys are doing a great job of moving things to the consent agenda. And I was just looking over that tonight. I think there are 9 items tonight. What it takes to be able to do that is to be extremely well prepared as board members, because that's not just a rubber stamp. You don't just prove it without looking at it first. And so you've done your homework ahead of time to be able to put it on the consent agenda and keep it there. So congratulations on that. Last month you had no other items on the agenda that required discussion, but I think tonight you had 2. So that's really good. We try to keep it under 5 or less, right? And you had 1 goal we discussed last month, and 1 was on target. You had 3 goal progress measures, and 2 were on target for hitting the goal by the end of the year. So we're working on that for sure. So for tonight, what we're going to cover, what we're going to do in our monitoring is we're going to look at goals 1 and 2. That's early childhood reading and early childhood math. We're also going to look at the superintendent constraint progress measure 2.1, which deals with attendance and our goals for attendance. And then we're going to review and approve the goal progress measure targets. We finally have all of those completed, and we'll be able to approve those tonight. So to begin with, if you'll just look in your folder, you're going to find the next document is your monitoring report. You may notice that over on that sleeve over by the frame vision, not mission constraints, so where there's a sleeve that contains this month's report, and it'll stay in the board meeting until we have another regular meeting. That's a good piece. So when you look at goal 1 and goal 2, goal 1 has to do with moving early childhood reading. Goal 2 has to do with moving early childhood math. And tonight we're going to consider 3 goal progress measures for each. The first one for goal 1 and goal 2 is Miss Howard's campus. And then that's kinder. And then for the GPMs for 2 and 3 for each of those goals will be Miss Wendell's campus. So they have some reports. Now you'll notice the outcomes here in the monitoring report. This just gives you, just as a reminder, this is just meets and masters, okay, meets or above. But there's a lot of activity going on in the schools at this time of the year that doesn't get to meets and masters, but it's definitely progress. And it's something you need to know. Keep in mind too, when this middle of the year assessment was done, they had just come off of a 3-week break. Okay, there's a little bit of gap right there. And plus, some of your more challenging curriculum is taught about this time of the year, middle of the year. And so that's just when the assessment hit, and it's not an excuse, it's just a reason. And at any rate, you're going to see some really good results in some areas that they're really working hard to improve on. And so we have Ms. Howard's report, and Ms. Howard and Ms. Wendell have done a great job of preparing more than what you see in this monitoring report. This is basic, meets or above. They're going to share with you some additional things and even extend that to things they're doing as far as interventions and extensions to help these kids do that. So we'll start with Ms. Howard, and she has her presentation for Ken.
Thank you, Tony. I have my Vanna Kaylee and my Vanna Patty here. We're ready to go. So to be honest, this is my support team right here. I could not do this without them. The teachers are in the thick of it all the time. And whenever I need to get a think tank together, this is my think tank right here. So let me get this in present mode. Okay, so in your packet that you got with the LSD goals in it, that does show you how we did overall as far as meets and above. But like Tony said, there's a lot more that goes on. Meets and above for reading includes the meets and master's level. In math, there's only 3 levels. There's a well below, there's a low, and there's an on par. And that's the only categories that we have. So the one that you see for math, that is what it is. That's everybody that hit target. There is no above target there. But in reading, there is still another distinction. And so that's what we're going to talk about tonight, is what those distinctions are. Oh, here we go. So overall, this is our growth pattern overall for reading and for math. And that's what you see right here in this document. This is just the at or above benchmark levels. So in reading, we went from 35 to 39. I can tell you that I'm not real satisfied with that. That is a 4% increase. Doesn't tickle me pink, and we know that we have some work to do. And we have talked a lot, and later on in this presentation, you're going to see where we did dive in deep into the data to see what was going on and what things we can implement to help correct the decline that we had. That doesn't look like a decline because we still went up. However, incrementally, it wasn't what we anticipated it to be, and we really want to do better by the end of the year. Our math, you can see that math, we had huge growth. And so looking at the difference there, we kind of have to really dig down and say, why did our reading grow this, but our math grew here? And so we did find some things that we need to improve upon. We also found some things that we are doing quite well. The first data slide that you see, that shows you our reading in class kinder. This is by our racial populations. So I have them paired, and the colors are similar. So the dark blue and the light blue are both white. Oh, I have it right here in front of me. The next 2 colors are Hispanic. The next 2, the purples, are African American, and the greens are 2 or more. Remember our 2 or more? That is a total of, it was 7 kids. 1 moved, now it's 6 kids. So that's a very small number of population that's not even rated by the state of Texas. Anything under a 10 is not even considered in calculation. So that's on there because that is part of our data, but it is a very small number. So if one student moves, we see a drastic change in the numbers there. So looking at this, we still want everything on the left to be going down and the second bar to be rising. Or the ones on the right to be rising. So we want to see our well below. In the first one, you see that we went from a tall dark blue to a shorter light blue. That's good because we moved some kids up. In our Hispanic population, we actually had some kids drop into well below that weren't there before. We did have to do some digging to see what was going on there. Our African American population, we had some growth there because we went from a higher number of well below to fewer in the well below category, and same with our 2 or more. When you move over to our below, we're looking at the same thing. We're seeing a growth. That's because we have students moving from below, well below to below. And you see that pattern there. So as long as we are moving from left to the right categories, we are doing fine. We did not grow to the point that I wanted us to, but we are still moving in the right direction. The next page that you have, the next slide, that is our special populations. So this looks at our economically disadvantaged. That is the browns. The pinks are our special education students, and the greens are our emergent bilinguals. I will tell you that there is a typo. We had some latency in the ED data, and I forgot to go back and add it. So our ED data that you have in your LSG report has 0 for emergent bilingual. We actually did have 19% in the at or above, but it didn't make it into the initial data because I didn't catch that mistake. But this does reflect that we did have growth in our ED data as well. The next slide takes a look at our math. And our math just skyrocketed, like we blew it out of the water. As far as moving from well below to meets, you can see all of our meets lines, that's the top category that we have, all of those are significantly higher. Whenever you go to our special populations on the next one, we again see significant increase. And the blank space in the greens, that is because the emergent bilinguals, we did not have anyone at or above, we didn't have anyone meet at the beginning of the year. So that's why there's a gap there. We have grown from 0 to the point that we are right there. So super excited about that data, but we did have a lot to talk about. So we did begin digging into the data. One thing that we do is we keep a data wall. And I know that I have shown you all pictures of the data wall. We have it a little bit different this year. We have it in a vertical format so we can actually see which students are bubble students about to go over that next line. So it is numerical progression upward. So we did, the teachers logged their new data points, they looked at that, they realized some things right then. When they were taking a blue card, which means that they were at the top, and moving it down. You hear them go, oh, uh-oh. You know, and so they're already thinking. We did investigate the data. We looked for what are the root causes. One of the things that we noticed was our African American population had dropped significantly in reading. We wanted to figure out what was going on. But overall, our reading didn't improve like we wanted. And so we took, as a team, we took the attendance, and we looked at attendance of each of those kids, the behavior incidents, we looked at behavior for each of them. We looked at the significance of the school events that we had going on. We also looked at the algorithms that they used for the test. And I told you last year, it's a moving target, and we knew that the benchmark moved each time, that the expectation was, if you got 26 right here, you're gonna have to get 35 right here, you're gonna have to get 49 right here. Well, we didn't realize until we took this deep dive into the data and actually pulled the study from Oregon, which is where Dibbles comes from, that there is a multiplier assigned on the beginning of the year that vanishes at middle of the year. So at the beginning of the year, kindergarten students who can name their letters, just name their letters, their score multiplies 35 times for that one category. At the middle of the year, it's an 8-time multiplier. So we realized that just working on the letter naming, it really didn't benefit us so much there because the focus of the test changed from the year. So we did get some good data from that. We had a lot of data discussions. We talked about individual students as well as our RTI process. What are we doing? How are are we doing it? How are we monitoring it? We did note that the math was considerably higher and talked about what could that be attributed to. Well, number one, math is concrete. It doesn't change. You don't have to learn how to read numbers and put them together to read words like you do with the letters and sounds. Not only that, our letters and sounds don't all have the same sound. Especially for our Spanish-speaking culture, the letters in their culture have one sound. But when you come to English, we have G that has a, or a J. We have C that may be, or we don't teach all those things at the kindergarten level, but they are seeing those things as they're reading, and it does get a little confusing. So we did pay attention to that the math being concrete does help them retain it better. And the math algorithms on the test did not change. Beginning of the year, they summed it up, that was their score. Middle of the year, they summed it up, that was their score. There wasn't a multiplier that changed the outcome. And then we looked at what decisions we needed to make with the data. And so we did see we needed to do some adjusting. We conducted a SWOT analysis because we really needed to see what is going on. And we realized in our strengths category, obviously, the overall math, that was a strength. That was a skyrocket. We are above our end of year goal and well above it. And we expect that to continue to increase. Our letter name fluency, it grew by 10%. But again, letter naming, even though we grew well in that category, because the multiplier went from 35 to 8, it didn't show up in the testing, it didn't show up in scores. All of our students in reading showed raw growth. However, we only showed a 4% increase overall, and that is because of the categorical values that they're attached to it. And then in math, our counting, which is just speed counting, count as fast as you can from 1 to 100, and you have 1 minute to do it. That went from 11 to 51%, huge increase. And I will tell you that at our parent nights, I actually had a parent put her on the spot and said, you know, I'm going to time you and let's go. And she counted as fast as she could. She took a breath and she started counting again. And she got there, but she realized exactly what we're asking our students to do because they still have to breathe too, and they take more breaths than we do. But asking them to count from 1 to 100 in 1 minute, they don't have time to get to the 30s and go 31, 32, and do it with that mechanic memorization because the clock doesn't allow for it. They are scored on how many they get right. So it was a great opportunity for our parents at our family math night to see what the expectation is of their child and how they can help. Our weaknesses, when we looked at that, our non-word fluency, it only grew by 2%. So non-words, if you look and you see the word that says S-I-Z, the student has got to sound it out and say the word. And they have 30 seconds to do it. So they've got to sound it out, say the word, all in 3 seconds. And the whole time, because they are new readers, they're trying to make sense out of that word, because words should make sense. But these words are all nonsense words. They're going to see F-I-M, and they've got to sound it out and say the word in 3 seconds. So we did not see a big increase in there. When we dug into the data and algorithms, we understand a little bit more about the test. Number identification, it showed an increase in the lowest category, which means that's actually a decline, identifying our numbers, which was odd because our overall math skyrocketed, but identifying numbers, we actually dropped. So we're going to take a look at that because that, again, is a straight sum it up. How many did you get right? That means that we got 4% less right in the middle of the year than we did at the beginning of the year. We made it up in other areas, obviously. And then our African American reading was definitely a weakness as our composite fell overall by 13%. So the opportunities that we identified were adjust reading intervention groups for the tutor on campus, to begin math intervention groups for the spring semester, and the math intervention that would have an overall focus on number identification, since that is the one area that we did see a slide, to increase our region 3 training and support, involve parents in the assessments at parent nights, and we did start doing that at each parent night. We talk about how you can help your children at home. This is what it looks like on the assessment. This is what you're going to have to do at the beginning of the year next year, and here's what you have to do at the middle of the year, at the end of the year. But wait, we're not done there. Kindergarten parents, your kids have to read. within the first 3 weeks of first grade next year. So that is what they're going to be tested on the third week of school. So letting them have some insight into the expectations that are there of their students. It is also, I believe it's had a twofold effect in that it's helped our attendance because the parents are now seeing the value of bringing to school every day. The other thing was providing information for understanding mature parents, and that's really just that, letting them know this is what's going on, this is what your child is expected to do, this is how we're teaching them, and teaching the parents how to help their children. The threats that we did identify, attendance dips due to illness and other issues. We are 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, and when you come over, the last thing you do before you leave our building, Dr. Mack knows, you hit this hand sanitizer on the way out, because everybody wants to love on you and hug you. Ms. Westmoreland comes over for JSL, and she works with some individual students. I guarantee you, before she's leaving, she's hitting that either the bathroom to wash your hands or the hand sanitizer stands, just because they you know, give me a hug. So we do have a lot of illness that we do suffer with. A lot of kids are in school for the first time in a community setting like that, and so they pick up things as they're building their immune system. So you're welcome, Marissa. We're happy to get that out of the way. Another threat that we did identify this year, the school calendar and the timing of tests, we think it did hinder us a little bit. When we came back from the 3-week break, the kids were, I want to say, almost, if not as reset as they were at day 1. It took us an entire month. We were well into February before we were normalized again after 3 weeks. Now, I will tell you that our bilingual teachers told us that the kids came back not speaking English again. They were back at square one. Because a lot of their kids did leave for Mexico a week early. They came back a week late, and they did spend an entire month speaking no English. So that was a huge deficit that we got to figure out how to address. If we continue to have long breaks, we're going to have to figure out how to overcome that, because the families, they're going to indulge in their culture, and we want them to. But if they're in Mexico, they're going to speak the language, and we're going to have to encourage them to speak more English. The problem is when the parents can't speak it, they can't support it there. Another threat that we did identify is the weather and school closure. When we came back from a 3-week break, we had a PD day, and then we had 4 days of school. The next day, or the next week, we had inclement weather because we had the freeze, and we had MLK Day, and then guess what? Hey kids, here's your test. And so we were kind of at a disadvantage there, and that we're still trying to get them normalized. And again, we didn't get normalized until February. So it was about the beginning of the year again. And then the last thing that we identified as a threat is it's part of our own doing. We have increased parent involvement events on campus, which is great. But part of the problem is our parents are going to take their little guys when they're up there. Here, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, we need to do a better job of encouraging them to keep their kids at school. Because whenever they come up for an event that occurs at 10 o'clock, or they come up to have lunch with them, and they take them home, they're missing half a day of education. And it does hurt. So on our SWOT analysis, that's kind of what we identified. So what's next? Well, the first thing that we needed to do was adjust the understanding. So we met, and I'm telling you, we have had a lot of team meetings. Ms. Edlerbaum has led out beautifully on this with our PLTs. But the first thing we needed to do was to kind of rethink things. So we looked at the assessment and deck, and we did look at the distinction between the beginning of the year and the middle of the year, but we also looked at the vertical alignment. Where does it go from there? And this is what we found. So if we look at this is the algorithm that they use to determine the composite score. So you have to get your score, then you have to multiply it, then you have to subtract something, then you have to divide it by something, then you have to multiply it back, and then you round it off, and then you add 2 numbers together and you get your score. So what we're looking at is the beginning of the year. If you see that LNF, that's letter name fluency, it was multiplied by 35.44. And at the middle of the year, and for the rest of the time, it's 8.86. I say for the rest of the time, that's just kindergarten year. The next highest one is the NWF, which is non-word fluency. That is that looking at something F-I-C, and you've got to sound it out and then say pick. And which is, just, it's a foreign language to them. They're trying to get command of the letter system. This test uses this at this grade level. This is not necessarily something that all of the tests do, but in-class does. What we notice though, if you look at the two smaller boxes on the right, the first grade, if you can notice that NWF is the highest category there. And then at second grade, it is also the highest category. So from kindergarten on, from mid-year on, the thing that this particular test is going to weigh the most is whether or not you can sound out and read a nonsense word. So what that tells us is we got to work on nonsense words. We got to work on just sounding out things instead of knowing the letters. That's not as important to know that the letter is A as it is to know that that letter says I. So this is what our data wall looks like right now. And you can see the yellow that are down into the purple. Purple is red. We just don't like to use red. But those are kids that have dropped. The green that's down there, they dropped 2 levels. And then you see, like we've got some blue that dropped down into the green. On your LSG information, you don't see that decline because they're still at meet score above. But we do see it and we take it personally because we had students drop from the above benchmark to at benchmark. So even though that data may look okay, it doesn't necessarily satisfy us internally because we see something else. We see a little deeper. We know what else is going on. On the right-hand side of that is our math data. And you can see we have very few students who are still left below the line. And the majority of those students, we test all students because we need the data for whenever our students get into 3rd grade, we need data to show whether or not they are capable of taking a state assessment. So right now, we test all students in the self-contained classes. Some of those students will be NAR, which means not able to respond. But in order for Dr. Pronto's team to be able to say that, they've got to have the data that shows that. We are giving the supporting data. So all students take the test. A lot of the ones that are in the well below are the students who are not able to respond. So our next step is to adjust the mindset. So we held a staff development session and it was a teacher-led and it was amazing. We had teachers come out and present on their strengths. We had one present on journaling and handwriting without tears and all of the whistles and bells that come along with that. We had one present on classroom culture. We had one present on process art. We had one present on Ms. Eckhoff. What was that one called? Draw starts. Draw starts. It is akin to the yes, the GT testing. Is where you get something and you just have to finish it out. You get a squiggle and you finish it out to draw something. So that's akin to the Torrance test that they do for GT to get that creativity going. And so here's the pictures from our staff development where our teachers led. We had one do anchor charts and the importance of anchor charts and what those can do for students. We also, the next thing we did is we realized we need to adjust instruction. So we had already had Region 3 on site, working with us on small groups. We began implementing those with increasing fidelity. So Region 3 was coming in, they came in and did some training initially. Now we've moved to the stage of monitoring those small groups. So they come in, we move through the rooms, they're looking at what's going on, they're coming back and talking with us as the data talks amongst ourselves. They spend a lot of time with Ms. Essenbaum because she is coaching the teachers. And then they also visit with the teachers about what can be done. So in addition to adjusting the small group instruction, we also adjusted the record keeping process because as Dr. Mack says, if it's not documented, it doesn't happen. And while we had documentation of the progress monitoring, what we didn't necessarily see is congruency and consistency. We had one teacher especially, and I'll call her by name, Ms. Hildebrand, who has great documentation processes. And so she shared with the team and they all picked up what she had and started using that. It has personal goals for the students. The students are involved in something very similar to what we saw from Ms. Swindle with what her teachers do that Ms. Hildebrand has implemented and has been implementing in her classroom. But it's very detailed documentation on progress monitoring and it was fantastic. So our teachers did pick up that, and the next page shows you what this data looks like. The little girl on the blue page, this is what Ms. Hildebrand has outside her door. She has ownership of her data, but she also has a data binder inside the classroom. Outside the classroom, every time she completes the next set of site works, she is out there sticking that sticker on there. She is so proud to do it. But those are the objectives for kindergarten, and each one has a sticker. And as they master it, they're going and putting that sticker out on their individual chart. The same thing is being tracked inside the classroom. So what you see on the others, this is progress monitoring for in class. That's how they're keeping up with the reading and the math data. So some of them, this was new. Some of them, it was just refining and getting more in depth on the data process itself. The next thing that we did is we realized that we needed to adjust the schedule. So our kindergarten team met and they talked about how can we get more time in the day. And you really can't get more time in the day, but we can adjust it so that we feel like we have more time. So right now, what they have done is taken a 30-minute block of time when normally we might be winding down and they may be doing some small group things or something, but they have dedicated that to intervention with those kids that we saw drop. They are working specifically with them, also with others. They do have parapros. Our parapros this year are a ratio of 1 to 3 classes. Most often, our kindergarten teachers are on their own because our parapros are full to serve in other capacities. Because our pre-K, by law, mandated, has to have 2 individuals in the group. So if we don't get subs, which we often don't, our paras have to be pulled and filled in other areas. So for the most part, our kinder teachers are an island in each room, but they do a fantastic job. But this is one area that if their para is there, it does increase the ability for them to do this incredibly. If not, they are still finding ways to hold those intervention groups in the classrooms. So basically what we've done is we've shifted our tier 3 RTI into the classroom, and we've moved our tier 2 out, which we'll talk about in just a minute. So here's some pictures that show what's going on in the classroom. These are adjustments since Region 3 has been on site. We have seen a lot more engagement. We've seen a lot more intentional small groups. The one in the middle on the bottom, this goes along with really great reading that we started this year, and that has been an amazing program for our students. Highly engaging, very easy for the teachers to use. If they're not there, the para or the sub, it's scripted, they can pick it up and keep going with it and never miss a beat. The next thing we did is we realized we need to adjust the engagement. So Region 3 has had a team on site with us here just in the past 3 weeks, looking at our exploration rooms. Our exploration rooms are rooms where the kids go and they explore, but they were more of a play space. So we needed to be more purposeful with those. So what we are doing is working with Region 3 to gear the stations in those rooms toward academic growth. And they are going to be on site with us, working to help us create those stations so that they are more purposeful for that environment. We still want to have the social aspect because our kids need to learn how to cooperate with each other, how to play together. But we want them to be doing it in a way that's going to provide more academic engagement. The other thing that we realized with the engagement is that we have to get our parents more involved. And so we have been very intentional for the spring semester. Our parent nights we hold short meetings and then we hold playtimes. So our math night in January, we brought parents in, we talked to them about games that they can do at home. They don't have to go buy things. There are ways that you can do math at home, ways you can do math in the car. And then we just had games out for them to play. We have things for them to take home. We did the same thing in February, STEM night. We talked to them about the importance of just maintaining that. There is math in STEM, but it's also a science, it's a technology, and it's not a tablet. We have actually coming up on Monday, the 25th, I would love to see some of you there. We have our science night coming up, and we are going to get messy. I have told them to be sure and wear clothes that it doesn't matter if they get something on it, because we're going to be making Play-Doh and slime and oogling and doing dry ice experiments and working with shaving cream and just exploring science, getting hands in there so that that learning sticks, because we know that that is the way to solidify that for our students. So these are some pictures from our parent nights. And we have a lot of the same parents that come. to our parent nights, which is great. We got to know them very well. We spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours playing with them and their kids. And again, we hold 3 sessions with them. We do childcare. If I'm going to have a session, I had one session that was on social media and the dangers and pitfalls of social media. We talked about some characters that kids know that maybe they shouldn't know. They look like cartoons, but they're really not. And for that night, we had childcare so that the kids could get out of there as I showed parents examples of the things that their students might be seeing and talking about. We know they are because we hear it. But as a parent, if you're just walking by and glancing over it, it doesn't look like a cartoon. Cartoons are not good. South Park was a great example of that. And the last thing that we talked about is that we need to adjust our intervention. So we have been without an intervention teacher. Our intervention teacher has been loaned out to Tenny Homes this year, and we have not had her since September. We will not have her for the rest of the year. As a result, we did get a retired teacher tutor, which means she can't work more than 20 hours. She works actually 12 to 15 hours a week, and she has been coming in and working with our students. The way we would normally use our intervention teacher would be working with our lowest kids to bring them up. But because of what we've seen happen with our data, we knew we had to do something different. So this is where we took our tier 3 instruction, which is our lowest kids, and we put it back on the teachers. So you've got to work with these kids, and our intervention teacher has now got the bubble kids, the ones who are right there at that yellow line, and her task is to get them above the line. That was something that it did give us some heartburn to have to do that, because that's not normally what we would want to do, but because of the constraint with the hours that we have her, we have to do what's best for kids, to help see growth. And we also know that some of those at the bottom, we weren't necessarily pulling all of the bottom ones, but they have a connection with their teacher. They're a little bit more reluctant learners, so they may actually do better if we can leave them with their teachers and have some more dedicated, focused time. And so there is a picture of, well, the ones on the sides are our teachers, but in the middle, that's our intervention teacher who comes on campus. I will tell you that on my right, you're right too, because you're looking at it in front of you. That is Miss Ashcraft, and she started this. Well, we have several that are doing this, but Miss Ashcraft, Miss Eckhoff, Miss Barrera, Miss Williams, we have a lot of teachers. This is actually a class restroom break. We hate taking class restroom breaks because they consume so much time and it's a waste of educational opportunity. However, she's found a way to overcome that. It's also because we have to lock our doors. It's an interruption to class. We cannot prop our doors. So if a kid goes out, somebody's got to come let them back in. And if you're teaching, you lose that instructional time because now somebody's getting up to go answer the door and bring it in. So what she has done is made quality use of her restroom breaks. And she does this anytime she's out there, her kids are sitting, they are listening, they are learning, and she is just rapid fire working with them on sounds or numbers or words, sight words, things like that. So doing an incredible job there. So that is the end of my presentation. And I didn't even have questions yet, but I do want to open it and see what questions you have for me.
Every question I wrote down, you eventually answered.
Great, that's why I didn't give you time for questions, because I was hoping that I might answer them as we went along, but just for kids, what was your question?
No, well, you said you were looking into the trends and what affected it, and you eventually got back around to it.
Okay.
I did make an interesting note though, your comments about the schedule, and I've had similar feedback, and I've also had some overwhelming feedback about the schedule around spring break as it pertains to the fair, and how atrocious the attendance was during the fair because there's so many kids on the fairgrounds coming in and doing different things. So it almost feels to me like the extra third week that we had at Christmas, which hurt us, some of those days could have been fair days or days off there. And it would have actually helped our overall attendance numbers and keeping the kids more engaged, be less of a long break over the holidays. So just that was good feedback, something to take into consideration in future schedules as we go forward.
Yeah, I know it sounded great. 3 weeks off sounded great, but the reality of it, and teachers still may, some teachers will say, I want that 3 weeks, but I don't want to deal with what we dealt with when we came back. And I don't know, I can't speak for other campuses, because we are where they are learning it. And if it's not solidified when they leave, you give them too far, you know, too much time away from it, and they forget it, and that is what we saw. So.
I really loved how your meeting nights, you showed the parents, like, because whenever I would talk to my little ones at that age, I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, oh, we're times 100, you know? And like, that doesn't tell you like really what the test is. Like, how do I really work with them whenever they're at home? It's not just counting 100, it's taking a deep breath before you start counting and doing all those little tricks and everything. So, I mean, that I'm sure helps a lot. You know, I would love to know that insight. And everything that you said had such purpose and was, like Dr. Matt said, data driven and everything. That was amazing. And we love to hear it, but I think probably the next person that's highest on loving hearing it is Miss Wendell, because she's going to get the results of all of this hard work that y'all are putting in. And it really is great work.
So Trustee West, are you ready?
To count to 100?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. All right.
Let's do it.
Competition now.
Okay, so we don't tell them it's on mark, get set, go. We just say, okay, are you ready?
Okay. And I say yes now. Then you start.
Just start.
Like right now? Okay.
Yeah,
What's
already
24,
started.
7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, it's 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.
Okay, pause, listen, Trustee West, pause for this a minute, because the other thing is I have to understand.
Comprehensive on your part.
No, but you have the correct numbers in the correct order, because if you miss one, you're done, it doesn't matter what the rest of it you said, you're done.
Oh, you don't just keep track of like, oh, they missed 3 out of, so like, if they skipped 6 and they just got 5, but they could have counted 7 to 100 perfectly fine. Oh.
So, sir, are you ready?
Those are the 3 times.
No.
I hear this just going on,
Speaking, shall we?
So, are you ready?
Am I going now?
You are, and remember, I have to understand the numbers, which means you can't go too
It's
fast.
better to go second, because now I learned how not to.
Yeah. But see, that's why the parents know that, so they can.
Okay, ready?
Okay, so,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46. 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. 61, 62, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70. 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80. 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100.
how long do you think it took?
How long did I think that took? 42 seconds.
Like a minute and a half.
I don't know.
You took 50 seconds.
Get it.
So, you would have had 10 seconds to spare. But
Okay.
think about how challenging that was for you.
Oh,
Now
God.
think about a 5-year-old doing that, and he only has 10 extra seconds than what you just had. So, it is very opening for our parents to realize the task that they're given. That is not necessarily a kinder, that is not a kinder T. Some of the things that we're tested on are not necessarily kinder T's, but they are part of the assessment. So we have to do what the assessment gives us. But yes, that is one that it is difficult. I noticed you taking breaths. We have to tell our kids to take a deep breath at the beginning. And let's go. So anyway, well, I think y'all don't have any other questions.
My question is, are we teaching our kids to rush through stuff then?
Question, sir. Good
And that
question.
affects them along the way?
We have to balance. We don't want to teach to the test, but because this is how we are measured, kindergarten readiness and I think Dr. Mack showed that a couple of board meetings ago, kindergarten readiness in our district is well lower than the state, but lower than surrounding districts as well. So what we are doing to work on that is Ms. Eisenbaum and I have been meeting with the daycares and letting them know we want to partner with you to help shore up if you have a pre-K program, or if you have any kind of educational component, come visit with us. Let's show you what the students have to do. We were at CDC, is that the one where they really didn't realize what all they were having to do? That's the church one, okay. At CDC, and we were talking to them about the expectations for what kindergartners have to do the third week in school. They were kind of fascinated by that, not in a great way. But so one thing that we're doing is we're working with others in the community to build that fluency as far as looking at what we're gonna need in kindergarten, how can we support you so that your kids are ready. We're also looking at, Marissa and I both are doing jump starts in July. We have teachers willing to give up part of their summer to come in and work with these students to help get them ready for school. So we do have to have a delicate balance. We know that we have got to get kids where they can do well on this test, because this is how we are scored in the state. It's the same as STAR. I mean, we are scored by the test that we are given, but we also have to teach deep education that is meaningful. And so we work on both of those things at the same time, but yeah, we do teach them to have good looks for that. So.
Just real quick, on those conversations about kinder readiness, I mean, that was huge, and I don't know how much of the staff has heard, you know, the significant difference in when they walk in the door, and that's just a credit to the amount of growth that we see so quickly that we've been celebrating today, is knowing where they are in the kinder readiness measurement. And we did talk about being purposeful, and yes, addressing things even before they ever get to us. And we've got a meeting, just for everybody's knowledge, we've got a meeting, I guess, Wednesday. Got us tomorrow.
That is tomorrow, and we actually, yes, and we have talked to, that is, what was the first day there was it to? Discovery Minds, who is actually certified and ready to be able to be a partner through the pre-K partnership, and they are very excited. When we toured them, we were very impressed with the curriculum that they use and the expectations for their students. She let us see their classrooms with the teachers, and it was amazing. They are turning pre-K students away because they are at capacity, and they do send them to us. They tell us, tell them to come see us to see if they qualify, which is great. So we are going to work hard with them, whether or not we do the pre-K partnership. We want to partner with them anyway because they are supporting us. We want to support them. We are getting those students next year. We have a batch of students that came from them this year. And so very excited to be able to be reaching out into the community. I know you guys may remember this is just my second year here in Bay City, so I don't know a lot of folks. So I keep looking at Ms. Eslenbaum because I rely on her a lot because she knows everybody. Apparently Eslenbaums are favorite.
Well, and also I want to mention that pre-K partnership isn't just a partnership, it's actually funded through the state. And so that's gonna be something that we can really hang our hat on long term with our daycares that qualify, because there's certain qualifications. I'm glad you guys started to uncover that, because that's going to speed up the process. YMCA is now in town. I know that they're approved as a provider as well. And so, yes, you do whatever it takes, obviously. And that even starts, as you're saying, before they ever get to us. So it's very intentional. And thank you all for that. It's great to have teachers here as well. A lot of work goes into this. And for me, it warms my heart to see a SWOT analysis like this, because it's really not about analysis of adults. It's about analysis of the learning. And you guys getting together and saying, how do we need to address this? It's not about the adults as far as judging adults. It's about working as professionals to improve learning outcomes. That's what it's about. And when you erase all that other stuff and just focus on the learning, you realize we're all on the same team. That's all it's about, just improving the learning. That's it.
And the problem with SWOT analysis, what we realize is that threats, it's real hard to not look at that and say, we don't want to say that because that sounds like we're trying to place blame on that. And it's not that we're placing blame, we're just identifying things that can impact us, external things that can impact us internally. And so that was a difficult task to undertake. It was actually a heavier lift than we thought it was going to be. But y'all have any other questions?
Thank you all for the work. I know you worked tirelessly at Cherry to get those students up and ready. The battle just continues. So thank y'all for what you're doing. The teachers are doing amazing work, and y'all are leading the charge. So thank you.
Thank you. Y'all come see us sometime. We love to host you.
Yes. Thank you so much.
She wrote in this hour for the report that she made, and I think you can imagine if you didn't know things that she just revealed to you. Would it help you make decisions going forward in the future? Also, you have to commend them for making their adjustments. I mean, you're in a period of time where you have to see some cuts in the budget to make things balance, right? So you can stay alive. But they found ways to do it and to keep moving forward. So I got to commend them for that. They're constantly looking for ways to make us all work as a team. And that's true. And so now Ms. Wendell is going to make a presentation about 1.2, 1.3, and 2.2 and 2.3.
Good evening. Here's my banner right here, Ms. Allen. And as you know, board, we have not had an instructional coach the entire year. So due to unforeseen circumstances, Sherry had lost her AT in the middle of the summer, and Ms. Gardner was more than qualified for stepping into the AP role. So we lost her at the end of July and everything. And then we had teachers apply back in August, but my morals and ethics were that they were classroom teachers and they were here in our district, and I was not going to leave 22 kids without a teacher at the beginning of the year. So I made a decision a long time ago in August, September, that we were not going to fill that position, and it just wasn't worth it. So we ended up actually pulling it down off the website, and then we reposted it just in January so that we could get new feedback and new candidates for the 24-25 school year. So Ms. Allen and Ms. Zabronic have been my right hands for Ms. Zabronic. She was IC a few years ago. I was like, get me out of there. I want to go back to intervention, but she's been a huge help. And then I do want to recognize my team leaders that are here tonight because they've had to step up and take a lot. So Ms. Ferrer is one of our team leaders. Ms. Levin is one of our team leaders. Ms. Zabronic is our special team leader. And then we have Ms. Dykes, who is another team leader. But then we have our awesome Ms. Kenny that's here tonight, and then also Ms. Montoya. And I want to say one thing about Ms. Montoya. She got married back at the end of August. Her husband lives 2 hours away. She could have easily quit, resigned, and went to live with her husband, but she has stuck it out with us, and she did it for the kids, so I commend her for that. Now, we are going to lose her this year, but we wish her the best luck, but she needs to live with her husband. I mean, we tried talking to her yesterday, but he just didn't really work for us. Okay, so here we go. So I basically just kind of taken all the different snippets of what we've been reviewing and looking at. And so on the first one for goal 1.2, you'll see that we started the year at 20% of all of our students that were at needs category, and we've gone up to 32%. And then of course we have all of our sub-pops of Hispanic going from 19 to 34, white 28 to 44, African American 16 to 19. More than one race, 8 to 27. Our economically disadvantaged, 16 to 30. Our special education, 9 to 12. And then our emerging bilinguals from 18 to 45. So you see some great growth there. At the bottom, I wanted you to see all the categories though, because I know that's one question that you had throughout the school year and previous school years. You didn't want to just know about the meets and the masters. So at the bottom, you'll see at the first grade where we began the year well below at 64%, and that has transitioned down to 54% on the right if you look. And then if you look at the low grade level from 17 to 14, and so you see that shift that keeps moving down. So our LSG goal is to get from 19 to 39, and so at this point right now, we are at 32%, which is a 13% increase. And so we're well on our way to meeting our goal for the new year. And just to give you kind of a vertical alignment from last year, we were at 14. So we're only 1% off from last year where we were at this time. So first grade reading is definitely rocking and rolling. They're doing a fantastic job and we're super proud of them. So we're super confident that we will reach our goal at the end of the year. And then moving on to the next one, which is 1.3, which is second grade. I do want to make a note, these students came in much higher than previous years, which means first grade did a fantastic job of getting them ready. So in the 22-23 school year, we were only at 33%. So we're 9% higher at the beginning of the year than we were the previous year. So kudos to that first grade team for getting our students prepared. And I just want to really commend them for that hard work and dedication. So for second grade reading though, one thing that we have had to have a conversation, and it hasn't grown as much as we wanted to, we have growth, but not as much as where we wanted, is what I've been telling them. We can't teach the way we always, every year I tell them, you can't use what you used last year because it's not enough. And so we did have to have a meeting in one of our PLCs Ms. Abronic sat in with me and we just talked to the team and we just really were telling them that we've got to revamp. We've got to, increase our intervention. We've got to increase our tutorials. One thing that they know, I stand by my tutorials. I'm a stickler, I'm firm. They asked me at the end of a field trip, can we cancel? No. We didn't have school yesterday, can we cancel today? No. I mean, we stick to our time, we stick to that schedule. We want to give our kids the most time that we can. And so, and even if they're out sick, they leave plans and someone covers. Our SPED team does a fantastic job on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So for instance, Ms. Barrera was to be out this afternoon. One of our SPED teachers, or Ms. Abronic or someone would step in and fill those. So we don't just call the parents and say, hey, teacher's not here, come get your kid. No, we still provide that high quality intervention and tutorial time. So if you look here, we've gone from 42 to 47 overall in the needs, 37 to 44 in the Hispanic. White 61 to 63, African American 38 to 44, more than one race is 50 to 57, economically disadvantaged 37 to 41, our special education 10 to 12, and then our immersion and English 28 to 36. So we still have growth, it's just not where we want it to be, but when we actually started looking at the data, there's so many students across the board that are like just within points of moving to the next category. They've shown growth, they've had growth throughout the year and everything with that moving target. They just haven't moved to the next category, but they're literally points away from it. So by the end of the year, again, we're not too worried. So if you look at the bottom, you'll see that shift and everything. So our goal was to get from 41 to 61. At this point, we've got to 47, so we have a 6% increase. Last year we were at 11%, but like I said, we had to have, I like to call them come to Jesus meetings, and where we discuss and decide, what we need to do. But we knew from the get-go, we had to strengthen our intervention, we had to strengthen our small group time, and rotations, and then definitely the after-school tutorials. So, and with that being said, we've even told them that during even tutorials, we do different walkthroughs, just checking in and making sure the teachers do a fantastic job of holding the kids for a little bit. They go ahead and they have their snack. Sometimes they take them outside and run. So then when the teachers are off contract and it's their time for tutorials, they take them and pull them. They've already had their snack and got some energy out, so they're ready for that full hour. And so during that hour, they do 30 minutes reading and 30 minutes math, and they switch with their partner teachers. So, like I said, 6% is not where we want to be, but we're going to be able to without a doubt. So then we transition to math, and math, just like Ms. Howard talked about, that math is concrete. So once they get it, and they definitely shine here. So beginning of the year, they were at 13%, and they've gone to 44%. And then Hispanic 13.45, white 22, double 44, African American 40%, more than one race 17 to 60, economically disadvantaged 12 to 43, special education 6 to 23, and our emerging bilinguals 15 to 38. So if you see at the bottom, they're at a 31% increase when we were looking not that only looking, but our goal was 20%. And last year at this time, they did have 27. So they're a little bit higher than they were at this time. But I've already had a discussion with them. I called them all into my office and I said, we can't stop. We got to keep going. Like, this isn't good enough for me. We've got to. And so, again, at our committee's meeting, we talked about just accountability and pushing and just not giving up. And we've got our thing off, our little quote or whatever since January has been finish the year together, finish the year strong. So that's what we're going to do. So super proud of that first grade math team. When we go to second grade math, I will also say this group came in higher too. So I'm very, very proud of first grade because they're doing a great job of setting the stage and getting them ready in their foundation. So last year at this time, last year at the beginning of the year, they were only at 4%. And so they started at 18%. So that's big, that's huge. And so for the second grade math team, they've gone from 18 to 29%. Hispanic 18, they grew by 10%, white 28 to 39, African American 6 to 19, Northern race was 15 to 43, economically disadvantaged 16 to 28, special education 6 to 14, and our emerging bilingual was 21 to 40. So at this point right now, they've had an 11%. Of course, we want to get to our 20. And last year at this time, they're at the 16%. Ms. Dykes has already had several meetings with her team and revamping and just looking at the structure of it. And a lot of it is the small group rotations, just making sure we're hitting those with fidelity, making sure we're hitting it with current data. I will say Region 3 has already come into the classrooms a couple different times. They've also come and coached me one day in particular, and we had those conversations. They came back another day and coached with Miss Allen. They're coming back, and they've given us feedback, and they're coming giving us feedback. Always I'm excited to send it to Mr. Townsend because it's always really graving and glowing, and we're proud of what they're saying about our teachers. It's been spectacular. They're coming back for 4 days. They're going to be with first grade for 2 days. They're going to come do 30 to 40-minute observations and then have private one-on-one meetings, not with us, but with the teachers about little tweaks and little things that they see. And so they're going to build that trust just with the teachers and keep us out of it, just about small ways and different changes they can do. And it's more personal. It's just going to be one-on-one between them and the teacher. So we're looking forward to that. I do want to say, like our LSG goal, I know Dr. Hazen had asked us, you know, like if our teachers are spending a lot of time on LSG. I mean, our teachers don't do anything with our LSG, but I will tell you, our goals are across the same board. My admin goal, my principal goal is the same as our LSG goal, their class goals, and even their student goals. So we're 100% aligned from top to bottom. So the students have their goals, and it's the same 20% teachers to admin to LSG. So they don't actually do anything when it comes to the LSG. I just pull all the data, and then Miss Allen checks me because sometimes I like to make mistakes, and I'm like, well, that number can't be right. So that is second grade math. And then, so we are transparent now. I did take teachers' names off here just for confidentiality and everything, but I'm going to tell you, everyone has a spreadsheet. We talk about it throughout the year, and so this spreadsheet basically has. I have to tell you, I love data. Like I was one day when I was at IC at Cherry before moving into AP. This made me so happy. Like this just. Not having an instructional coach stinks because there's a lot that everyone has had to put on their plate, but at the same time, this brought me a lot of joy. And so right here, you'll just kind of see, and what I really wanted to show you was right here, first grade by teacher. This is first grade by teacher reading. So basically, teacher one at the beginning to middle, you'll see like just this is how we portray it. Every teacher sees it in the first grade reading room in the PLT. Everyone's looking at it. So that Miss Barrera and I'll just tell you, Miss Barrera's is at the bottom because it's just right here. She's had a 49%. I'll just tell you, she's teacher number 6, and so she's had a 49% increase. So what are you doing? Tell us, you know. But that's what we have to do. Tell us your ways. Let me come watch you. I mean, Miss Koenig, she's a science guru. You want to watch a lab or something? You need to go watch this, you know. So we have to use our own resources because we're the best. I'm telling you, we don't need to go have any PD because we really do have fantastic educators right down the hall. Or if I need to go to Cherry and watch someone, our homes, I know that we could always send someone. So we're very transparent at Lenny Roberts. We just, it's all out there. We keep this updated. I also have it just segregated by each subject for sure. And then same thing like with math. So each teacher knew, for example, I'm just going to throw this. This is not, I don't know, this is Miss Dyke, with her being here, I'll just throw her under the bus real quick. Let's just say, oh, at least she's a second grade teacher. Second grade teacher right here, we would just say, you know, just showing them that they've gone from well below grade level and below and benchmark, and you look at their goal. Their goal is 25% to get to 45. And so here at the middle of the year, they've made a 26% increase. And so, and then we did have some that, you know, they went down one. We had to evaluate. We had to have those hard conversations, what's going on, what's happening, and everything, and get to the root cause of it. And so we keep this live. They all have access to this, and we refer back to it. And so we will also keep it up. I just think it's simple and clean, and it's going to be easy to be able to put the end of the year data, and it's just consistent. So the teachers really seem to like it. And so it was like, yeah, this is good. I mean, instead of us flipping back and forth on different things. So that's just our live data that we keep updated all the time. Our data wall looks a little bit different this year than we did it in the past. We took the idea of leaving the colors where they were at the beginning of the year. So for example, here you'll see our reading at the top is first grade, at the bottom is second grade. We just don't have that much room. I wish we had a large corkboard, but we don't. And so you'll just see where a couple of those kids on that red did fall back. But at least we did see a lot of improvement going to the right though. So if you see like the ones in the red that are in the yellow section, you know, they've moved up. And then same thing with the green to the blue and everything. So we just felt like this is an easier way for us to see it than we did it in the previous year. So they just updated it and moved it around. And so that is reading. And then Our math, you can definitely see where a lot of the red had moved to the yellow, and then look at all those yellow and red that are in green. So fantastic growth, and again, first grade's at the top, second grade's at the bottom, and each line is each particular teacher. So example, like at the bottom, that second grade, so it could be Miss Dykes is the first one, Miss Escalon, but anyways, it's all categorized by each teacher as well, so it's organized, so that when you go look at it, it's easy to view. So that's math, and then of course, we love our student trackers and our data folders. The students, they take full ownership. Teachers have class goals. Some of their goals are outside their hall, some are inside, some of them have them all on the back of their wall. But the folders are something that is mandatory that I do require for every student to have. Second grade, they do binders. Luckily this year, I know Rosie or one of the schools last year used title money to be able to purchase the binders because they're not cheap, and so I was able for this upcoming to be able to get some folders so that we don't have to ask our parents to purchase those, and the same thing with the folders and everything. I'm glad that we're able to provide those, but the students take ownership of this. So in the first one, you just see where that student colored their data. And again, you see that first one went from 24 to 42. There's so much, you see the growth, there's growth there. They just didn't move to the next category, but a lot of them are just points away. And then in the middle, again, that was some of the fluency with the letter names, the phonemic awareness, and letter sounds. And so I just wanted to highlight some of those, use the different charting where it showed that they were 56 at the beginning and they were at 96, so they skipped the yellow below grade level and went straight to on grade level. And then there's some teachers that even have their goal written out in the middle of their year, and then also on the far right hand side, you'll see where, I know it's kind of blurry, but you'll see where the one student on the far right, he went from well below to above, so he went from, he or she went from red to blue, which skipped to other categories. So we're very transparent with our students. They know what they're looking at, and they're always focused before the students do any testing. The teachers have one-on-one, and they tell them, you know, what their goal is, what they're going to work towards, and they have those private conversation in those data meetings with each student. And then just kind of wrapping this up, I just want to go over a few things. Like intervention is again a non-negotiable. We might be shorthanded. We might have 12 vacancies, but let me tell you, we don't stop what we're doing. We just continue. So sometimes they'll pass Mrs. Ryan at home, like, we cancel today? Nope. I mean, we're poor teachers. You know, they love us. But anyways, the interventions, we're doing 2 days of reading, 2 days of math, and so we're very, very consistent with that. We're also very consistent with our after school tutorials. We'll continue that all the way through the end of April. I do require parent conferences. Of course, they all have to have one at the beginning of the year, but middle of the year, any student that is in the red below grade level, they do have to have a face-to-face conference with as well, and they have to turn those in to me when they are completed, because I want our parents to be involved, and I do not want to wait until the end of the year and say, oh, we're going to recommend your child to go to our summer boot camp academy if they haven't had that transparent conversation. So it's very important that our parents are aware. Our parent involvement is something that we take a lot of pride in. Even though we had our Valentine's dance, we had over 822 people sign in that night. But still, we sent them home with Title I information and other things. So even though it was considered, you know, we had a great time, we still sent them home with resources and everything, just to make sure that they knew what the point of it was to get us all together. A lot of the math games and the bilingual nights and everything are easy items that they're able to take home and use. Some of them have goodie bags of items that they can use. Sometimes they do drawings and different things for different materials, but also a lot of the things they come up with are things they use at home and they can easily incorporate without going to the store to buy anything. So that's definitely a highlight. And then, for example, like when we bring Mr. Robinson, when he came in the fall this past time, he taught the parents how to do a read aloud. A lot of our parents don't know what a read aloud is, and so so every year that he comes, we pick just different components that we want him to use and to be able to highlight. And so again, we'll have him again next year, and we'll pick something different for him to use. And then we have our regular scheduled RTI meetings. Let me tell you, those run like a champ. Mr. Bryant has all the data ready to go. Our counselor is inputting everything into Skyward. So when these kids get, our second grade get to homes next year, everything's in there, all their interventions, their goals, what's happening, you know. So I really like the Skyward. Mr. Bryant, I think everyone was kind of scared at first, but it's been very easy to manipulate. And so we're excited that that data is going to just kind of move easily to the next campus for those students. And we stick to those. And then progress monitoring, we've already had one progress monitoring point since the middle of the year. We've already seen lots of growth since that testing date. We'll have one more progress monitoring coming up, and then, as you already know, it's into your testing already. So it's gonna fly by. Attendance, man, we work hard on our attendance, we really do. Our parent liaison does a fantastic job of calling. This morning, someone had missed the bus and being able to go pick them up. It's been a huge blessing, so I appreciate y'all. I appreciate Dr. Mack and Mr. Townsend for, letting us, be able to, have them, because it's been a huge highlight. But just some of our attendance parties, like even our teachers have, instead of us thinking of like ideas, Ms. Montoya thought of the last one, it was a lot of fun. It was like a glow neon lunch lounge, and we gave them extra snacks and drinks and everything, so they got to go into an extra classroom and have lights and strobe lights and music and everything, and so they thought that was neat. So we try to think of out of the box things, but it's all my teachers that are on TikTok and all these other things, and they're trying to I don't do TikTok, but they bring me all kinds of great ideas. And then T-Test walkthroughs, as of today, Ms. Allen and I have had we're at 406 walkthroughs. That is not formal observations. And so our teachers know to expect us. They let us in every time. They don't ever kick us out. That's where we want to be. That's where we want to be. I will say with breaker coaching, that's one thing. It's designated. You have to put it on your calendar. You have to stick to it, because we can always make excuses of things that come up and get in the way. A lot of times she'll be in our meeting, so I'll get mine done. And then when she gets out, I'll take the radio. You go do yours, and so we kind of bounce times off of each other and everything to make sure, but we are committed to getting those done. Our CDAs, they have them at the end of every single unit. So one unit might only be 2 weeks and they're taking the CDA, but every CDA is on the Chromebook to prepare them for 3rd grade. Every one of them has STAR 2.0 questions, and every one of them have written responses. Now, some of our kids in 1st grade, it is hard. In the 1st semester, it is a lot of tears and everything, trying to figure out what are they typing. So they will call the kids up to their desk and say, okay, this picture of the weather, what do you think is happening? And then the teachers will write it down and evaluate it with the rubric and everything, just because it's not fair to take off when they don't even know what they're trying to type. But we want to give them that exposure so they have it, so by the time they get to Miss Ashton and Miss Flores and everyone at City Homes, they've already been exposed to it for a couple of years. Telpass Academies, Ms. Allen has done a fantastic job of organizing and orchestrating those. Excuse me, the same teachers have almost been in every single one. They have it so well managed where they come in, they eat breakfast, and then they go to their different groups and everything, and they're practicing their typing, everything, and they've had really, really good attendance. Everyone, she has seemed to have the attendance increase each time, even with incentives. They definitely want to come for Chick-fil-A, and so, and of course, we feed them lunch before sending them home, and so we're for sure proud of them. And then the last thing was, like our instructional coach, like I said, we did have some interviews on Monday, and Ms. Allen and Ms. Ryan and I stayed and chatted last night. When it comes to instructional coach, usually on a lot of my interviews, I have my team leaders because they're always have great input, but this was another type of interview for me. And so I had a teacher that was a brand new teacher. I had a teacher that was in special education. I had a teacher that was a better teacher. I had a teacher that just switched to content. I was very strategic about who I wanted, and I told the committee, I'm not hiring this person, you're hiring this person, because they're working for you. They're serving you, they're coaching you, they're modeling you. And so after the interviews and everything, they ranked who they felt like was going to be the best fit for the campus, not just for themselves. I told them, I know you want to be selfish and you're looking for yourself and what might be the best, but think about the entire campus, because we have to get out of that silo of thinking about you, thinking about your team, thinking about your hall. We have to think about everyone and all the kids at the end of the day. And so hopefully by the end of the week, we will be recommending someone for that position. And all the candidates were highly qualified, and we were super pumped about it. So that's pretty much what I have. But I do, again, with that instructional coach, I just want to give Ms. Allen and Mrs. Bryant kudos, because we had to really pull together the team leaders because it hasn't been easy to keep it going. But as you can tell in the data, there's definitely growth and success. And so even without that position, at least we want to keep that position. We will. Dr. Mack and Mr. Townsend have never, ever steered me away. But we wanted to wait until it was the right fit. Dr. Mack and I had a coaching session, and he knew in my conversation that I wasn't going to hire anyone. I'm very particular, he knew I was very particular, and that I knew it was gonna come at the right time, and it definitely will. Question?
It's fantastic. Thank y'all for the work. I know, still, y'all work tirelessly to get these students to where they are. And it's evident in the data that is shown in the conversations that are happening in the after-school tutoring and that and so thank y'all so much for what you're doing. It's evident on both Cherry and Lenny Roberts and Tim that the teachers are really care and you want to see the students go and go and go. So that I think is very evident and I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, it goes to the teachers, and it's really awesome that a lot of the teachers, Mr. Bronick was having a conversation with us, she said there's certain people who come to her and be like, you know, what do I need to do to get better at this, or, you know, whatnot, or they want to better themselves, they're not happy when they're stagnant, they want to continue to grow, and it's so cool that they have that open conversation and everything, and even like we were telling the interviewees, today's just Tuesday. Okay, that was just yesterday. Even though we were doing the interviews, not like, you know, we just want to make the best fit for our campus because there's so much potential that all of us need a coach. Everyone needs a coach. None of it, you know, I have Dr. Matt coaching and he told me he has a, you know, and so it's just the teachers deserve it and everything. And so I give a huge shout out to our teachers, but also our paraprofessionals work so hard. We talk about sub shortage and everything, and they're in that classroom and they don't skip a beat, y'all. They're just the paraprofessionals. I know that we're trying to get our budget back into the black and we're going to get there and it's going to be awesome, but even with the different overcomings and everything, they haven't stopped, they haven't complained, they're doing a fantastic job, and we're gonna keep making success and we're gonna keep achieving our goals.
One of my favorite parts was the second grade scores were so much higher to start with.
Yep.
That means we're not just like working that short-term memory of just remember this, like just for this test or whatever, like they're going the whole summer and coming back and still retaining all of that information. That's a different level of learning. That's a different level of retention. And that really speaks to what, you know, they're doing, the heart and soul they're pouring into it and everything. It's really awesome.
They are, and I will say after that 3-week break and then the bad weather day, and then when we could actually start testing, they got it done. And then after they got back to actually teaching, which is what they love to do, they hate to test, they're like, oh my gosh, we would have just had this. They already knew the data was gonna look different. One of the teachers was going back to Haggerty, and she was like, why didn't y'all remember this on the tech? You just didn't have that time to get back into it. They just, that they're accustomed to. So that break definitely did hurt us and everything. So that's why I'm very confident with the end of the year, we're gonna see so much growth.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Really a tribute to the whole early childhood team at BCISD. I can tell you that my peers and I that we work together at the service center, we do what we call wraparound services. So those of us that work with BCISD talk, right? It's intentional talk because we're trying to see how we can help each other. And all I hear from my peers at the service center that come out here and work with your teachers and the principals is compliments. They love it. Because they feel like people are really invested, really trying to be here for the right reasons, and just top of the line work. So it's reflected in the results. We have the next thing we're going to look at is superintendent strength progress measure 2.1, which is the overall attendance rate for BCISD will increase from 92.23% in May 23 to 93% by May 24. Made some slight progress. The March attendance rate is year to date. Okay, so just so you know, it's you know, you look back in October, that was also year to date. Each of these is year to date. So we hope we can finish strong and get to that 93% or above. Of course, we'd like to be higher. Dr. Mack, you have comments on that?
Sure, I did a little more of a breakdown as well. A little more of a breakdown because we know that in addition to all the great things that are going on, the students have to be present to receive all this great instruction and purposeful intervention that we've heard about tonight. So I kind of did a breakdown here also similarly to how we break down demographic data and scores. And you'll probably see there's a correlation there We've got to have our kids in school, and I'll point out a couple of them because I know my team is aware of this population, and it's an interesting group. As far as, and I could give you the numbers, it's not a ton of students, but we talk about our McKinney-Vento and our homeless population, and there's a correlation between homeless students and where they end up as an adult. And so, mentioned to some of you, it'll be in some upcoming newsletters, but we're hosting, Region 3 has a grant, and we're going to be hosting a leadership conference that's focused on the homeless students. However, it's a great message on making the right choices. And as some of you know, my passion, there's number one, and then there's something way down the line. One is breaking the cycle of poverty. And so you see your economically disadvantaged numbers down there in your special populations as well. Overall, though, and back to the LSG report, overall, we know that our goal in May is 93.4. And if you look at the top of that percent in attendance of the colored version with all the lines that I was just talking about, we're 93.4, so we're still ahead of the game. Overall, we're and I know my principals will get this, we're more than one whole percentage point higher on that PIA. So we were about 92.4 last year. So that's a 1 percentage point is gigantic. So I know that our liaisons, I know that our teachers, it's a full court press to improve this attendance. It really is. Everyone is working so hard, and I'm so proud of them. And the results are here. And as the attendance grows, I feel our outcomes academically will also increase as well. And so that's where we are, and would be glad to entertain any questions y'all have on attendance or anything relating to that. But overall for the year, it's looking really good. And from a budget standpoint, we're looking at doing some very innovative things next year to reward campuses for good attendance. And we'll send that money back to the classroom to where students who are showing up get an added benefit and the teachers get an added benefit of increasing that attendance rate and passing along that increase in funding to the classroom for materials, instructional materials, those sorts of things. So we're really proud of the effort, and we had Cherry present tonight. As you all know, Cherry was very transparent last year and said we're going to do some work, and it has really, and I think that everything from parent involvement to the culture and climate there. Same thing at Lenny Roberts Elementary, tremendous culture there. And I said to Joe just a few minutes ago, almost 30 years of education, I've never seen the engagement of our emerging bilingual population I've seen in this district, not even close. I mean, it's not in the stratosphere. So there's a lot of magic going on, and I got to tell you, I think it's just about relationships. I think it's about genuine regard for families, and I think our family campus liaisons, as we get through this, we'll put it next one. But yeah, I just want to give you a little more information this go around. So any questions for me?
But it's interesting. I like this breakdown. I mean, there's not much of a difference between male or female, and you can see it's funny. It's almost like it's a bell curve by the grades. The lowest attendance are the pre-K and the seniors, and we know why that's the seniors. But the pre-K, that's interesting. I guess that maybe the parents transition from half days and then going into pre-K, and Mrs. Howard said they just want to take their kids home a lot.
Oh, yes.
Not take them in. So maybe just some efforts around those two grades, and all of a sudden you got another percent increase on top of the great work you've already done.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure there's work to be done here with the unaccompanied youth and the homeless status and trying to get those kids. I mean, those kids need to be in school. They're going to get fed twice. They're going to be safe all day. They're going to learn. Just by getting them to there is almost the challenge. They're identifying who they are and getting them in.
And also on there, notice the parentheses. I think this is one who may have mentioned this about the population counting, it could have been, Howard as well. So you see the populations, those would register in accountability, but that doesn't mean we can't, take a look at it. And I can tell you that that last one that you're talking about really surprises me, because it's 23 students in the district. It's much higher than I thought. And so that's where these types of meetings, you go back and you have discussions with Mr. Brooks and his team, and you say, where are these kids? Are they working? Are they, trying to make ends meet? That's usually what happens. And so yeah, so I hope y'all like this. I plan on bringing this back so we can break it down. And right here, I can drill down to the list of students. And that's just a great thing about being purposeful. Everyone on our team here tonight is so purposeful in what they're doing.
And I think it goes back to the liaisons and having each one of those at the campus. A lot of this is a relational thing. There's something happening in the home, and being able to have that connection point in the middle of those liaisons, filling that gap and calling and saying, Jill, what's going on? Like, how can we help you? I think we're going to see a huge trend in a huge direction. I feel like we've just gotten started with our liaisons, even though we're in March. I think the ball is just starting to roll, and we're going to see huge momentum. But I also think it goes to our campus administration and teachers and what you're doing on your campuses to encourage educating parents of why it's important to get your kids to school. It's not just to get money for the district, but it really is for an education and to set them up for success. And I know you're talking to pre-K parents about that. And I know y'all are, there's a lot of value in all of it. So I think as it all comes together and it continues to weave to make that strong road, I think we're just going to see flourishing.
In another partnership, and I want to give Chief Cunningham a lot of credit for this. Chief Cunningham has set up major meetings with me with community leaders, and we had one this week. And just Chief's focus as well, because I'll sit there, we're talking about one topic, and I'm like, Chief, what else do you think we should talk about? And Chief, he comes right back with, well, let's talk about the outcomes and the specific things that you're doing. Let's talk about attendance. And so when your police department is led by a man who pays that much attention to what you're doing, I thought it was a great conversation. We may have started the meeting off with one subject, but I assure you, we use the majority of our time on outcomes and serving students. And we had some retired educators there as well, talking about early childhood literacy and things they want to do. Got invited to another presentation. Hopefully there's a meal involved, maybe, I don't know. The last one I went to, there was. No, it was a lot of fun, but I didn't know what some of our retired teachers were doing behind the scenes. I didn't know. And so that was shared with us. And so we're going to partner with them in some of these early childhood literacy programs. Then Thursday will be with our realtors. And we thank you for setting that up, and looking forward to sharing what we do there. And it's all about getting the word out. And a big part of that will be not only, I think we coined this one, where education meets opportunity. That's going to be a big part of the talk. But obviously, celebrating our outcomes and recruiting and retaining teachers. And so I'll finish with that on the recruiting and retaining teachers. Mr. Townsend has taken the lead on the teacher incentive allotment. That is completely, and there'll be a whole presentation on that. That's a dissertation, and you should get your doctorate when you're done with that. But we will be rolling out a teacher incentive allotment, and I'll give you a little teaser to that presentation. So that teacher incentive allotment will be based on student outcomes, and those student outcomes, students meeting these benchmarks and this growth and working in Bay City, because you won't get the same money anywhere else. The money is weighted towards working with students who are impoverished populations we're looking at here. We offered all of our teachers, it seems like as soon as Chris and I partnered up to do the national board certification. And we've got some folks on staff and we visited with every campus Monday. And it was a great conversation, and love visiting with you guys and sharing what's out there. And what's out there is if you did the national board certification, $6,200 to your paycheck, and you get certified, and that stays with you. But now we're taking it another step and doing a local designation, and we'll have Mr. Townsend present this as we get further down the road. But if we continue this focus on and this march towards student outcomes, there's also the same levels amongst teachers that we're hearing with the students, and that is a recognized level of 6,200. If you show significant growth along with formulas that I won't get into tonight, the exemplary level for a teacher who meets that growth will be about $12,500 added to their annual salary. And finally, you get to the master's level, which does happen. I have a relative that reached this here in Bay City. This will be about $23,000. And so it's not easy. We talked about that. It's going to be incredibly hard, but that's what we're here for. It's not based on pass fail. It's based on growth. Everything you heard tonight was based on growth. Remember, we started the conversation talking about kinder readiness. It's about growth. Not every student starts on the same starting line. And I tell you what, our kids are making up the ground. You know, they've got that, they use the analogy of track. They're in lane 8, you know, and they're going to have to make some ground up, or lane 1. And they're doing a heck of a job. And I think that's what you're seeing. And I'm so glad that we're talking about growth and not just where they are in the moment, because we know what we have to make of. You know, we're going to focus on early childhood literacy and numeracy. It's a great plan, and you got to hear it tonight. So look forward to rolling that out and really doing some special things with recruiting and retention towards student outcomes.
Okay, there was one other thing that we'll need you to approve tonight. If you look at your monitoring report, for each goal of progress monitor, the principals have set up what we call annual targets. And you'll notice, we've talked about this a couple of times this year. This is part of the requirement in the integrity instrument when you get your board evaluation, which we'll do next month, by the way. So when you approve these tonight, then you'll be in compliance with that for the next evaluation. But we've finally gotten all of this done. Now, you'll notice the principals in some areas, they're only looking at 1% increase per year for each goal progress measure. Some areas are looking at 3%, no more than 3%. Now let's think about this for a minute. In a school, a principal is tracking students from grade to grade. They're watching each individual child as they go through the system because they want to see them grow as they go along. But your goals don't measure that. Your goals measure early childhood progress of the program. Your goal 3 measures the progress of the CCMR program. Guess what? You got different kids in those programs every year. So if a program, early childhood reading, is progressing by 1% a year, that's huge. Because that's a different set of kids every year coming in there, and they're getting better with a different set of kids every year. That's why that's that way. You don't see like 10% increase. That's unrealistic. You can't expect that. So we've reviewed those, and we feel like those are appropriate. We just wanted to, for you to see if you have any questions about them. They're the yellow text at the bottom of each goal progress measure. And so we feel like those are appropriate. And they can be changed in the summer if you want to do that. As far as like for LSG coaching, this is for not for approval, but just to give you an idea. What you've heard tonight from these principals, this is educational best practice. That's what's going on in Bay City last year. You see, because of the work you're doing as a team. I mean, what if, as a board, what if you didn't know the things you've heard tonight? What would it be like for you as board? I mean, I've heard James say already a couple of things that he's going to keep in mind going forward, like calendar thing. I've heard Mark make some comments about, the impact that this is going to have on parents, and too, Felix asked a good question: are we just teach them to go faster, just to be faster? These are insights that you guys are going to have before that you wouldn't have if these principals weren't making the reports. And I'll tell you something else. As a former principal, I was a principal for 12 years. I had come up in front of the board and make a report like they're doing, which is only once a year, so I'll have to do that. They're doing it much more often to be a part of those start outfits. Believe me, challenges them. It challenges them to bring the best data they can. It challenges them to go back to the campus and work with their teachers. It challenges the teachers, even though that's not what they're working on, but it's a campus goal. It challenges them to do their very best. And you guys represent the community, your whole state. And so I want to commend you for your part of that work too, because you're definitely a big part of the team. So just so you know, we also meet mid-month in between the board meetings, and we have a planning. And the other districts, we started inviting board presidents to come to those meetings. So Jill, I'll just start including you in the messages, and if you can come, it's great. Sometimes we do them on Zoom, but most of the time they're face to face. And usually those planning meetings include the principals who are going to present at the next meeting. Sometimes they all come, but it just depends. And Chris and Dr. Mack always participate as well. And in those meetings, we talk about what went well in the last board meeting, what was good, what happened that was positive, what was the gap, where do we need to improve, and then we start talking about what's next. What's the next thing that we want to try to accomplish in the next week. One of the things I got to compliment y'all on is the way you're immersing the community with all of this. I mean, getting this governance camp thing started with the kids, that's tremendous. You guys were in Galveston. I was getting pictures sent to me from Galveston. I loved it. I was walking up down the hall of the service center showing everybody what you guys were doing. So we're really proud of you. And Jill, I want you to know too, the rest of the board, that I got a call from Dr. Kopacek the other day. She said, I need a recommendation for, say, 4 board presidents in the region that could be on a panel. We're going to have a board presidents roundtable. So, of course, you recommended me on that. And so you guys do a great job here. I think Jill will represent you well. I hope she calls you. That's great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And so May 16th, we have our board conference again. And I believe they're going to have a strand for the administrative assistant. So, Kelly, if you go to that, that'd be great. And after your last evaluation, we send it in. And I just looked on the TEA website. They haven't updated the leaderboard, but you made the leaderboard because of your scores. You're really making progress. I just want to commend you and tell you how proud I am of your work and the work of the team. And it's just a great experience for me to be part of.
Great, thank you. We appreciate you. All right, is there a motion to be made to adopt the information that was given tonight along with the annual targets, the GPM annual targets? Second to the motion. All right, there's a first and a second. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, moving on to our consent agenda. Is there anything that anyone would like to remove from the consent agenda as stated? All right, hearing none, is there a motion to be made?
All right, so approve the consent agenda.
All right, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any questions, comments? All in favor? Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. All right, we are going to convene into closed session under personnel matters if necessary may be taken into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074 to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, resignation, duties, discipline, resignation, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, including contract recommendations for campus and district level administrators and teachers. We will convene into closed session at 8:00. and we are going to reconvene in the open session. The first topic is discuss and consider approval of hiring contractual personnel. Is there a motion to be made?
Make the motion to approve hiring of contractual personnel.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a first and second. Any conversation, questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? That is great. Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Well, you went to no post so fast. I didn't get a chance to say all right.
And I've always been told by James, if I don't oppose, then that means aye.
Well, I'll ask for abstain if I feel like that. If I feel like somebody was abstaining, I'll ask if anybody abstained from voting. When we did, then they're all ayes.
Motion passes 5-0. All right, is there a motion? Next item of business, adjournment. Is there a motion to be made?
Make a motion to, we still have stuff.
I'll guess it.
That's it.
Everything was gonna make so much. See how it broke back at us into a separate item? That's why I thought it was a separate item. Maybe we just need to clarify that items 10 and 11 were part of the consent agenda. See?
Yeah, that's
Like
what it
consent is A through I, and then we broke out here, we should be discussing. We don't have to, it's part of consent.
What about item 11?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll say.
What?
Item 11, Old Money Roberts.
See, we do have a,
So that was
consent.
those are supposed, but we do. Okay, so it's on the agenda that way. So is there, going to item 10, is approval of Walsh Gagos retainer agreement? Is there a motion to be made?
We motion to approve the Walsh Gagos retainer agreement.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, a first and a second, any conversation, question? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Number 11, discuss
All right, yeah, second motion.
All right, are there any further comments, questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, 5-0 at 8:40.